breakfast. Anselma's lying-in time was uncomfortably close at hand, and boy Bill Post raced his hammer against the lightning-rent tempest that momentarily threatened to descend upon their heads. Anselma's cries from within the rude shelter informed Bill Post that his firstborn and the gale might possibly arrive simultaneously. Then a sudden explosive crash of thunder heralded the initial pelting pebbles of rain. It also proclaimed the welcome cries of his first child. Post managed to secure the last few cedar shakes to the roof just in time to greet Charles Francis Post. Bill's gift to his burgeoning family was a tight shelter and dry stores. Not much in the way of a defense against the wrath of God, perhaps, but better than canvas and poles in those wilds. March 1st, 1859, the day the majestic gales attended the birth, also marked the sad loss of 4 sound ships. To seal the bargain, the coast of Monterey was sorrowfully altered by rock-grinding waves and carnivorous tides. There were other unique signs accompanying the birth, according to the mother, but it wasn't for some time that anyone realized that young Frank was also the first child born in the high Sur under the American flag. In any event, the child's nativity was accredited as genuinely auspicious, and it was noted by family members that unusual events occurred on the anniversary of that particular date every year. By the 1st of June that same year, Bill Post had built his new family a credible home higher up on the banks of the Soberanes, and he had begun to move on a few head of livestock to see how they fared before establishing a larger herd. Bill Post had grown into a man of relatively broad experience. He was the son of a successfully retired sea captain from New London, Connecticut, and the family counted itself honored to have had ancestors aboard the Mayflower. A typical Yankee, both innovative and practical, Bill always felt equal to any task he set for himself. In 1858, Bill Post had had the good sense to marry Anselma, and though he appraised his life as rich in experience, nothing had quite prepared him for fatherhood. He found himself looking for direct reflections of his own instincts and manner in the person of the child. Well, this seemed only natural to Anselma, though Bill's observations took on an unsettling character the more he studied the matter. Baby Charles Francis Post seemed remarkably self-absorbed and uncommonly introspective for an infant. Anselma quietly insisted there was absolutely no reason for concern. It was the child's Rumsen Indian blood at play. Indian babies were rarely clamorous, unless soiled or left without proper attention. Indeed, Anselma exhibited great interest in her child's reflective temperament. She said it was a sign of great insight. This did little to assuage his father's concern, however, and Bill continued focusing closely on his firstborn for signs of some subtle indisposition. Bill never ascertained anything beyond his own over-anxious concerns, for Frank bloomed quite normally, though he remained quiet when he had nothing of importance to say. The child retained information easily and brought a fixed and patient concentration to every new experience. By the time the boy was 3, Bill Post was forced to accept Anselma's elementary appraisal of the situation. Little Frank assuredly perceived and understood more than most tykes his age, but he kept his insights to himself, as did all his mother's people. Little Frank loved to trail behind his mother as she drifted off into the barrens or high passes on one of her herb and medicine-gathering expeditions. Sometimes they would come across other parties of foraging Rumsen and happily move along together for a day or two, exchanging news, gathering pine nuts and birds' eggs, and hunting small game when the opportunity presented itself. This singular practice made Bill Post extremely uncomfortable from the outset, and he voiced innumerable objections to the custom.